Man.
Get in the car. I don't care what you demand.
Come on, man, look at it. This is a little girl. She 9 years old. Don't nobody feel no type of way. You got these people running around with stimulus checks acting like ain't nothing going on. Where the gangsters
Devin,
at?
why'd you mute your mic?
You know what? That's what it was. That's why you didn't hear me. My mic was muted.
Write this shit in fire. I would write this shit in fire. This is a rock. This is for Rwanda, Ethiopia, Zimbabwe, Southside, Chicago, Compton, California, Roosevelt Project in Brooklyn.
They shoot you back like that. 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 One time for the baby that's black. 2 times for the lady that's black. 3 times for the way we get back. 4 times for the egg could crack. They shoot you back like that. 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 1 time for the baby that's black. 2 times for the lady that's black. 3 times for the way we make stack. Revolution like hate like that. I'm a king with a crown that's facts. She a queen with a crown that's facts. I'm a G, she a G that stacks. I'm a G, she a G that match. From my G's in the back that trap. BG, get back, that's tax. See, we're feet who need this facts. And we're TCC, this facts. So we see we eat the snacks. If we see this seat, this cats. Be a key to the free that latch. Be a key to a feed that hatch. From my G's in the back that trap. Be a G, flip that, that's raps. See a LLC, get that. And start a business, please, this that. If they shoot you back like that. 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 1 time for the baby that's black. 2 times for the lady that's black. 3 times for the way we get back. 4 times for the egg could crack. They shoot you back like that. 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 1 time for the baby that's black. 2 times for the lady that's black. 3 times for the way we make stack. Revolution like hate like that. See the crown where it's at, this hat. But we gon' lay it down flat, this smack. Fall asleep where you at, this snap. See an open hand slap, this smack. Won't even at all mishap. I'm right even as all mismatch. Spit this, spit that, spit fast. Kick this, kick that, click back. They shoot you back like that. 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 1 time for the baby that's black. 2 times for the lady that's black. 3 times for the way we get back. 4 times for the egg could crack. They shoot you back like that. 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 1 time for the baby that's black. 2 times for the lady that's black. 3 times for the way we make stack. Revolution like hate like that. For those who came before me, let the legacy live through me, my ancestors giving honor, you dig? Tell them crown me king. Tell them crown me king. Tell them crown me king. I'ma crown me king. They told me do this for the sisters who gotta work that job. She just trying to raise her babies while she goes so hard. Tell her crown me king. Tell her crown me king. Tell her crown me king. I'ma crown me king. It's for the brothers on the struggle locked inside of that cell. Just know I'm trying to free your mind, get you out of that jail. Tell them crown me king. Tell them crown me king. Tell them crown me king. I'ma crown me king. You know the children are the future, teenage boys and girls. Get your money, start a business, then take over the world. Tell them crown me king. Tell them crown me king. Tell them crown me king. I'ma crown me king.
I am the niece of exploitation on a rice and pancake box. Come to collect the royalties for Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben. I am refreshing the bones, a witch, a root worker, a sorceress, a priestess, a gangster.
They shoot you back like that. 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 1 time for the baby that's black. 2 times for the lady that's black. 3 times for the way we get back. 4 times for the egg could crack. They shoot you back like that. 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 1 time for the baby that's black. 2 times for the lady that's black. 3 times for the way we make stack. Revolution like hate like that.
Nice.
How y'all doing? How y'all doing? We live. I got my man Derek Phillips in here, man. He is one of the main guys for Real Dads Network. Tell the people about yourself, Derek.
Well, man, thanks for having me, man. Really appreciate being here. I'm the CEO and founder of Real Dads Network. Real Dads Network is one of the premier Black fathered organizations in the country. Real Dads Network started in 2004. Real Dads Network was the outgrowth of a documentary that I co-produced with Nikki Deeds called Real Dads, Black Men in Fatherhood. That had commentary by the late, great Ossie Davis. And that was done in 2000. So at Real Dads Network, what we do is that we're a nonprofit organization. We just want to change that narrative as it relates to just Black fathers and men. We do a Real Dads Week. We're the only organization in the country that has a Real Dads Week where we celebrate Black fathers for a whole week. We also do an award ceremony. We've given away over 250 awards to dads, father organizations, and anyone that's uplifting fathers in the community. We also have a scholarship, $1,000 scholarship for a graduating high school senior. We also do a daddy-daughter dance. We've been doing a daddy-daughter dance for over 12 years. We've influenced cities like Philadelphia to do a daddy-daughter dance, Chicago, New Jersey, Virginia to do daddy-daughter dances. We also have a Real Dads Week. Well, I said the Real Dads Week. We also have a Real Dads Club where we meet in person before the pandemic. But since the pandemic, we've been meeting virtually. And April will make 2 years straight. We meet every Thursday. We have not missed one Thursday, 1 week in almost 2 years. So we have dads from around the country. We have dads. One of our dads is actually in Nigeria. We have another dad that's actually in England. So our whole thing is just uplifting fathers, uplifting families, and just, trying to do our part to make a difference in this world.
Do you believe that it's a stigma attached to African American fathers because of everything that society has put into the air about us?
Well, yeah, some of that, there is a stigma, but I think a lot of it also is that what we try to do is that we try to dispel the myth. So a lot of times when we hear stories, we hear stories that like 70% of Black children are growing up without a father, that fathers are absent. So that's a statistic that you hear a lot of. But the reality is what that statistics really mean is this, is that 70% of Black children are being born to mothers who are not married. So that means when the mother had the child, the father and mother were just not married. That's what the statistic really is. So that doesn't mean that the father is absent. It just means they weren't married when they had the child. So what we know based on the statistics is that 60% of Black children are living in the same household with their fathers. And then also when we talk about fathers not being involved, CDC in 2013 did a study that said that African-American fathers, Black fathers, are more actively involved in raising their children than any other ethnic group. So when we start looking at the research and we start looking at the facts are that Black fathers are actively involved. And we talk about this lack of Black fathers. We don't really have a lack of Black fathers. What we have is a lack of resources. We have a lack of support. We have a lack of opportunities, and we have a lack of access. So that's one of the issues that's really hurting Black fathers more than anything.
I don't need that. I don't need it. I don't. I apologize.
No, don't worry about it. No, we call it Real Dads because it's real. It's real.
All right. So, how often do you get a chance to get the children engaged in Real Dads Network?
In regards to getting the children involved, they'll be more involved when we're doing activities related to the fathers. So our activities are more or less geared towards the fathers, who in turn would bring their children. So let's say, for instance, like the daddy-daughter dance. So the dads would bring their children to the daddy-daughter dance. We also have a thing called Tickets Together program, where we have a father or mentor and mentee will go to the basketball game, and we'll give them a ticket to the basketball game, and they will get this VIP experience where they'll go to the game. They'll be there for the pregame. They'll have all you can eat. And then after the game, they'll go to center court and take pictures on the Knicks logo. So that's another thing. We'll get dads involved. We had another thing where we had fathers of NBA players. We had Chris Paul's dad. We had Karl Anthony Towns' dad. We had a few other NBA fathers. And we had a basketball clinic with these fathers, and the fathers brought their children to this basketball clinic. So we don't necessarily directly work with children other than our scholarship, or we give $1,000 scholarship away to young people, but we also support programs. Like one of the things we're doing as well is that we donated 20 laptops to this school, Clever Minds, in Nigeria. This is a poor area in Nigeria where these kids do not even have access to computers or any type of technology. So we provided them with 20 computers. And then on top of that, we also have a training program where we're training them on how to use a STEM program. We have another program that we're supporting it's Liberia, Africa, where they have a library. So we're donating to their library, their street library. We're actually donating books, we're donating educational games, and also providing them with not a lot of money, but a little money just to buy snacks and stuff like that for the children that are engaged.
Do you guys take donations?
Oh, yes, indeed. If people want to donate to Real Dads Network, they can just go to our website, which is realdadsnetwork.org.
Okay. So as you can see, going across the bottom of the screen, is knowledgebornallah, who's the CEO of Do the Knowledge Radio. He has a foundation where he actually feeds and aids to different people in the community out in North Carolina.
Wow.
So that's the reason why his Cash App is always there. Besides the fact that funding the radio station to keep it going, but mainly the real resources go to being beneficial in the community. So that's the reason I asked about Real Dads Network, so that we can figure out how to get people involved in being willing to deposit some kind of financials into, building unity, right? The general approach to things is that in a lot of cases, we looked at as deadbeats in so many ways for whatever reason. And I believe it's important to have a program like Real Dads Network out there just for the medicinal purpose to show that there are real dads.
Yeah.
Right.
And to tell the
some people do it, some guys do it to get patted on their back. They need to have that, macho man kind of thing. And you got real people, real men that actually do it out of love and care. So, it's important that that we get involved as a community of men, especially in this particular society where they giving our kids a false teaching, false hope, false everything. Yeah. So we have to step up as men and actually be the teachers, be the, what I'm saying? We got to create the narrative for our kids.
And I agree 100% with that, because when we talk about just parents and teachers, parents are the first teachers. And what happens is that we tend to turn over when our kids get a certain age, we just turn them over to the school system. But in reality is that we should always be the primary educator of our children, and the school is just secondary. So that's why one of the things that we do at the Real Dads Club is that we encourage dads to really stay actively involved. We also have a Real Dads Book Club, where we'll select a book every month, and we'll read a book and discuss the book. And sometimes we'll have authors that'll join in as well of the books, because one of the reasons why we want to read the books is because we want dads to actually read. So you can't tell your children that education is important if you don't model that behavior. So when a child is looking at their father reading a book, and one of the dads said, his daughter's like, "Dad, you're reading a book? What are you doing with that book?" But he's like, "I'm reading a book for the book club." So what happens is that we tell our kids to do a lot of things, but our kids will pay attention more to what we do. So what we want them to do, we need to model that behavior. So if we're going to say that education is important, reading is important, then we should read. We should have discussion. We should engage them in discussion and asking them questions, but we have to model the behavior we want in our families.
Since I have you on the show, this is going to be the first time that I ever do this, but it won't be the last, right? I'm I like to tell people that I'm black every single day. I'm African American in this society every single day. This is not a month thing for me. This is a life thing for me, right? So, with that being said, I just want you to give us a quote from a historian. I'll give one, but I want you to give one first.
Man. Oh my gosh, I can't even think of man, I can't, man, you got me with that one. It would be one with, Martin Luther King, and it's not going to be the exact quote, but the quote goes is that
that's too easy. Don't do that. Don't do a Martin. Don't do a Martin. You gotta go. You gotta dig deep, man.
This is a little different though, because this is one that I don't think people really pay attention to. You know, which is darkness cannot overcome darkness. Only light can do that, and that's one of the quotes we kind of live by in terms of Real Dads Network. Is that we try to shine the light on what's happening as it relates to just fathers. So we don't try to combat things with negativity, and our whole mission is really about promoting positive images. But that was a good one. I like that. Yeah. Not you.
So I'm gonna use Sojourner Truth. Her quote was, she said, I heard that a woman turned. I heard it was a woman that turned the world upside down. I want to be the woman that turns the world right side up. So she was speaking in reference to how Eve bit the apple and brought sin into the world, and how she wanted to flip the narrative. So like, I know that it's Black History Month. I'm a black man every single day of my life. I'm treated like a black man every day of my life. You know what society think of us, so I don't gotta go into details about that. But generally, I think that it's important that not just doing it for the show purpose, but in general, have every opportunity that we get to promote something that is in representation of our people. We have to take advantage of that, because it's impossible for a white man to teach us our history.
Yeah.
Do you think about the classrooms, how they generally only taught us about Martin and Malcolm? They didn't teach us about Sojourner Truth or Frederick Douglass. They didn't teach us about the Black Panthers. They didn't teach us about Marcus Garvey. They didn't teach us about these people because they wanted us to stay limited in what we know. But you can't know your future if you don't know your history.
Yeah. And that's like even when we talk about just history, just it being Black History Month, I actually did a booklet called Recognizing the Contribution and Achievements of African Americans in History. And I did this booklet like 31 years ago. Because when it came to Black History Month, what really bothered me about Black History Month is that people would talk about Black History Month and they always talk about, we got the shortest month of the year, and not really understanding like the history behind it, and also not even knowing who the hell Carter G. Woodson was. So, and I'm like, here it is, Carter G. Woodson. Carter G. Woodson is the one who started Black History Month, or Black History. So he started the whole thing of celebrating Black history, because he said, when it comes to the contributions of Blacks, no one talks about it, so they don't get recognized. So in 1926, he said, you know what, I want to start a Black History Week. So he started a Black History Week and centered it around the birthdays of Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. So that was in 1926. It was called Negro History Week. So it was only fitting that in the 60s, when we had the whole Black Power Revolution, that they would extend the month, which was originally a week, to the month, which was February. He started it in February, so you're not going to put it in a different month. You're going to put it in the month of February, because that's what Carter G. Woodson started. So that's what I did this booklet. And it had a lot of other, did you know that about history, but also people understanding why we supposedly have the shortest month. And then also recognizing and understanding who is Carter G. Woodson. He started Black History Month. But when it comes to Black History Month, we rarely ever talk about Carter G. Woodson. Staxx, did I lose you? Staxx, did I lose you?
So here's what's funny, right? They gave us Black History Month, right? as a representation of what? Right? My boy Knowledge Born is gonna, he might like this. He might even be smiling when he hears this. Why is there not a White History Month? We got Black History Month to overshadow everything that we endured in slavery and everything that we continue to endure still to this day. But there's no White History Month.
Oh, there is.
Why is that?
Well, you have White History Month. White History
It
Month
is?
is every month.
What month is that?
It's every month. It's every month.
What month is White History Month?
Every month.
They knocking us off left and right. They got every day. We just don't, and we do too. We just don't treat it as such.
Yeah. You know, and we do, and that's why it's like, as you said as well, it's important that we really understand our history, and then also just understanding that our history is not just American history. So a lot of times, even when we look at our history, we date our history back to just American history when we talk about slavery. But slavery is the end of our history. So when we start talking about history, the fact that today we use a calendar. The calendar that we use today is African. It's the African Africans came up with the calendar. You know, the fact that when we talk about school, we talk about the Pythagorean theorem using the mathematics of 3, 4, 5 triangle. That's all African. That's the pyramids that existed thousands of years before Europeans. So the math and sciences all originated when they were embalming the mummies, the pharaohs. That's all science. So all the math and sciences originated from Africa. So when you even trace and do the history in terms of even sciences today, what do they say? Civilization started where? In Africa. So if civilization started in Africa, everything originated from Africa. Math and sciences, everything that we do originated from Africa. So in a lot of times we get limited and we sort of lock ourselves into American history. American history doesn't date that far back. African history goes further back than that. The religions, everything comes from Africa.
How often within Real Dads Network do you deal with dads that have been incarceration?
We've had a few dads that have come on in terms of the calls, but in terms of the calls, when we talk about the clubs, so when we're dealing with the clubs, we're just dealing really with just men in terms of things that they may be going through. Whether it's like men just dealing with, one of the challenges that we tend to have as men is that we tend to be very macho man. So we got to do everything. So our whole ideology is that, you know what, I got to take care of everybody. So we don't focus per se saying incarceration. We just focus on the individual. What do you need to do for you? So before you can focus on everybody else, you need to sort of focus on yourself. You got to take care of your health first. You got to make sure that you're strong enough to stand up before you can hold up your family. So when you get on the plane, the first thing they say is put your mask on first. So what we do is that we try to engage men in just conversation and having them talk, and also just being vulnerable to say, you know what, I didn't know that. I need help. So we don't go into titles in the terms of the clubs. We just talk about just having real conversation, real things about men. We had one of the conversations just talking about, one of the brothers said, I was just going through so much. I had enough. I was going to kill myself. You know, and so it's like, and having a why, what happened? You know, what turned you around? But when it comes to Black men, we don't have a lot of places to go to unload, to say to people, you know what, I had enough. I need somebody to talk to. I got to take this baggage that I'm carrying. I need to be able to dump it somewhere and for someone to listen. So what we do is that we present that platform where men could be vulnerable. And when men are vulnerable, you're not looked upon as being weak. When you're vulnerable, you're actually looked upon as being strong. Because it takes a strong man to say, I need help, that I can't do this by myself. So that's what we try to deal with, a lot of those stereotypes about what it means to be a man, what it means to be the one in charge. You know, first and foremost, we are human beings. And a lot of times as men, we are completely detached from being human. So we are everything else. But it's like, yo, calm down, deal with yourself, and just be human. But create that platform where you can be human and have those, vulnerable conversations and not feel weak and not feel threatened and not be looked upon as being someone who doesn't have it together.
Okay. I like that. That was different.
We're real dads.
So you said y'all started out in
Huh? We're doing work that people are not doing. We deal with people. And that's what I said, it's real conversations.
So you said y'all started out in 2004.
Real Dads Network has been around since 2004.
Okay. How much have you seen Real Dads Network grow from within this 18 years?
To be honest with you, I almost look at it as being I have this phase where it's kind of like a baby. I look at it like it's almost like 2 years old. And I say that in a sense that it's been tough. We've been doing the work, but it's been me doing a lot of it I'm in Westchester, but I work in the city. So, I have to travel hour and a half to get to work. I was also an assistant principal. I have 2 girls. So it's been tough juggling everything. So we've done a lot, and I mean a lot, but we haven't really taken it to the level where it needs to be. And we're in the process of taking it to that level because I retired 2 years ago as an assistant principal from New York City Department of Education. So now all of the focus and energy is really about building the network. We've always had the network. We've always done work. And even during that time, we've still done probably more in regards to just impacting Black fathers than any other organization in New York City. But now it's like, I feel as though we're being reborn. Because now I have the time. I don't have the hour-and-a-half commute both ways, and I don't have to raise my girls. My oldest is 26. My oldest is 26 with a master's degree, and she's working, has a marketing company. My youngest is 22. She just graduated from Hampton University in December, so I don't have babies anymore. I have young ladies, and now I can focus more on just doing the work.
Okay. If you could give any advice to the youth at this particular moment and with everything that's going on, what advice would you give?
Boy, and that's a conversation that just talking to the young people, just trying to get them to understand. I say the advice that I would give to young people is that question things. Don't be afraid to question things, but also don't be afraid to listen. And I would say listen probably more than you actually tend to do now. And just like education is really the key to everything right now. You got to make sure you go to school. You got to make sure you are getting the paperwork and stuff that you need to get in place so you can be successful. But it doesn't always have to be degrees. And I got to be very clear about that. But just like you got to be on your grind. If you want to be successful, you got to be on your grind. You got to ask questions. You got to talk to people. You got to build your network. You got to build your brand. But you got to ask questions. Questions are the key to everything.
You still there, Derek?
Yeah, I'm here. I was waiting for you to respond.
Okay, you got quiet. I didn't know. I didn't know. So this is coming from Tanika B. Love, aka the Love Doctor. I usually don't say a person's name when they make a comment, but I'm saying her name because she's been on the show numerous occasions. She's coming back the day after Valentine's Day. We call her the Love Doctor. She's a self-help coach, a love coach. She's a lover of people, of mankind. She believes in enhancing people. So she said men have to become more vulnerable with each other. Do you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. And that's the whole purpose of the Real Dads Club, you know, where you can be vulnerable, because the whole thing with men is that we have been socialized that we have to be strong. You know, boys don't cry, you know, even, you know, boys wear blue. So we've been socialized for so long that we have to be strong. And what happens is that with men is that we tend to keep everything inside. And what happens is that eventually it just explodes. And sometimes that explosiveness might come out to the people that are closest to you. And that might be your child, that might be a significant other. So in terms of men having a place to go to be vulnerable, to say, you know what, I'm going through a lot right now. I need help. I need to take this baggage that I'm carrying and I need to be able to dump it somewhere. And to have a place where you can dump it and say, you know, and when you dump it, you're not looked upon as being weak, but you're looked upon as being strong. Because that's a problem that we have, is that if men cry and then we say, oh, he's weak. No, no, no. If you're crying and you're expressing how you feel and you're releasing a human reaction, that's human. Then that's a sign of strength. That's not a sign of weakness. And when men are around men and they can cry and feel vulnerable and not be looked upon as being weak, that's powerful. That's the real strength. Because to be honest with you, a lot of us as men, I'm gonna be real with it, a lot of us are, we're constantly in character. We're constantly carrying this facade, you know, that I'm this, I'm tough, I have to stay strong. But a lot of us are suffering.
When you say we as men are in character, I believe all people are in character, right? Because they like women have different hats, right? You can say hats for a woman, you can say masks for men, right? Chinese people say that we all have 7 different faces, and we use the face depending on who we encounter. But I will say this though, right? I believe that vulnerability takes place when I start to become vulnerable in how I deal with other men or expressing myself to other men, when I feel like I'm gonna get some kind of results, right? Even if you could take that to dating someone, right? If you dating somebody and you express yourself to them about something that make you feel away, and then you don't get any results, eventually you begin to say, well, what's the point, right? So you stop expressing yourself, right? And I believe that we have a habit of shutting down because we don't get the results. It's about results.
I hear you. I think I hear what you're saying about the results, but I think when you look at it, a lot of times, you know, we don't feel safe. That's why we don't have places to go where we can really be vulnerable. So, and that's where it's like when I say be safe. So you're not going. A lot of men are not going to be around each other and say, "Yo, this girl hurt me," because they don't feel safe in that space. Not unless you create that safe space. And that's the whole thing. You got to create a safe space or community where you can go to be vulnerable, because you can't be vulnerable in just any space. So it has to be a space that empowers you, that uplifts you, not a space where when you feel vulnerable, they bring you down. So, and that's why I say with the Real Dads Network, it's creating that safe space or having that sense of community where you can be vulnerable. Because as men, we also, a lot of times we just can't be vulnerable because of the space that we're in. Because sometimes we have to really show that strong side, and we're not going to let people hurt us if we feel as though it's going to hurt us. But it's creating that space or that community where you can be vulnerable. And then the results, you know, and sometimes when we talk about results, and this is a matter of results, it's like, you know, what are our expectations? So are we doing things because we want something back in return? Are we doing it because it's something that feels good to us? Like somebody said, I give you a gift, but the fact that I give you a gift and you don't give me a gift means I'm not going to give you anything else again, because I'm giving it to you because their expectations are
that's the superficial standpoint that a lot of people live in, right?
Yeah.
Somebody asked to ask you, what prompted you to start Real Dads Network?
Boy, Real Dads Network goes back really I would say what it started. There was a seed that was planted really when I was young. And I would say that seed was, you know, when I was young, I played hooky in the 1st grade. I played hooky in the 2nd grade. I got left back in the 2nd grade. I played hooky in the 3rd. I played hooky in the 4th. I'm the youngest of 4 brothers. and 3 sisters. My dad was not around at all. And my mother just said to me, please, the only thing I want in life is for you just to go to school and graduate from high school. She said, that's all I want in life. And I remember that when my mother died when I was 10, and this whole conversation with all my relatives and everybody, what are they going to do with Derek? Nobody wanted to take me. No one wanted me. They was like, Derek is this quote unquote bad kid, and nobody wanted me. And I remember crying. It was the night before the funeral. I remember crying and saying, if I ever have kids, I'm going to make sure I'm there for my kids, because my father was not around. My father was not even an option to even go to. So I said, if I ever have children, I'm going to make sure I am there for my kids. So eventually my older sister ended up taking me. You know, she ended up taking me along with my other siblings. But I made that promise to myself at age 10 that if I ever have children, I'm going to be actively involved with my child. So when I started Real Dads Network, when I had my children, I was very actively involved. I did the diapers, did the bottles. I did everything. I did everything they can possibly do. And people would see me and they would say, you know what? Wow, you are Mr. Mom. And I'm like, wow, that's great. I'm a Mr. Mom. That felt good to be called a Mr. Mom. Then I said, nah. I was thinking about it. I'm like, I'm not a Mr. Mom. I'm a Black father who's actively involved in raising his kids. And when we're Black men and we're taking care of our kids, they want to call us everything other than who we are, which is present active fathers. So I said I wanted to change that narrative. So I did the documentary. And the documentary showed positive fathers who are actively involved in raising their children. And as a result of the documentary, what I started seeing is that a lot of fathers and men start coming to me saying, you know what? We don't have a place to go to have conversations, to share our experiences, and just to talk. So as a result of that, I created Real Dads Network in 2004.
Okay. I want to give you your flowers, man. I just want to say that Real Dad Network is much needed. I hope that you continue to plant the seed, that God may allow it to grow as He see fit for His will and purpose.
Thank you.
I'm gonna make the Thursday call this week. I do have. You got to send me the number again because I had to reset my phone.
It's the same one. It's the same.
But
the same link.
I got to get it again. I reset my whole phone. Factory reset. So, yeah, I'm gonna join in. So Tanika says, if a man says he's hurting, he's looked at as weak. As a result, he puts walls around, suppressing all of these emotions and bleeding on everyone else he encounters. Kudos to you for this platform.
Yeah, and that's why I said
I hate the kudos. The kudos sound sarcastic to me.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing where it's like, in terms of having a place to, you have to have a place to be vulnerable. You have to have a safe space where you feel as though if I'm releasing what I feel, that you trust the people that are in that space or in that community are not going to use that to hurt you. And that's what a lot of men don't have, that space where they can be vulnerable, because we still have to be strong, but we also have to have that space so we can kind of like, relax a little bit and get empowered and re-energized.
Right. Anything you want to ask me? We can get into the Q&A, man.
Why did you decide to start this program? What are your hopes, and what do you hope to see, and what do you hope to accomplish?
You still there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay. So yes. So when we get off, I'm gonna send you my first ever interview, right? A lot of people, when I tell them I have a podcast and I actually raise awareness on my podcast, I use my podcast to raise awareness about what's really going on. Dudes that I was incarcerated with, you know, different things of that nature, they automatically oftentimes say they could see me doing that because I'm one of those people. I'm a people person, and I'm open-minded and I have a will to learn. So one of my good friends, his name is Bishop. He got a clothing line called CEO Nerd, and on his sweatshirt he puts like book smart and valedictorian and street smart and different things of these nature as a representation of being different.
Yeah.
I remember when we was incarcerated, I only had my GED, and I was studying with everybody that was in college as if I was a college student. And to them, it was like, why don't you just sign up for school? But to me, it was like, y'all actually sit there and learn this every single day, and I'm still able to hold the same level of conversation as y'all without sitting in the classroom. So the more that things begin to take place in society in general, I begin to say to myself, the only real way for me to make a difference is to raise awareness, right? One of the main things that we perpetuate as men in urban communities is the fictitious standpoint of what a gangster really is, based on the movie theory, the false reality of what a movie shows, or what gangster rap shows and drill music and all these different things. And I always say that the most gangster thing that we can do as men is be different.
Yeah. Everything
that we see on TV, shooting the gun and robbing somebody and fighting, like it's cool, right? It's cool. But being different, choosing a different route is even cooler. It's more gangster than that. Even being a real father is more gangster than all of that.
Yeah.
So
more rewarding.
Like, you know, I was helping write an essay about the gang life, right?
Yeah.
One of the most unique things about being an ex-gang member is that in LA, they don't respect us on the East Coast because in LA, the Bloods and the Crips don't beef with each other. In LA, the Bloods and the Crips help their community.
And that's
right?
And that's how it started. That's how it started,
right?
That was all
right.
the foundation of how it started. It was about
Bloods
community.
and Crips in LA actually supposed to be a branch over the Black Panthers.
Yes, it was about community.
So now you come over here and you start to see all of these different things in it from a negative outlook, and it's like for me, I know when I first joined being a gang member, I was like looking for family. I have 5 sisters and 1 brother, but I still felt a certain level of being alone.
Yeah.
So I had the thought pattern, hey, maybe if I'm down with the gang, I'll be all right. And even being down with the gang, because my mind was different than theirs, I still was alone. I was in prison, and it's crazy. I just held this conversation, I think that Sunday morning with one of my friends from Rochester. I met him in prison, and we was speaking, and I said, yo, did you know that I was blood when we was in jail? And he was like, nah. He's like, I didn't find that out until we was home. Right. And I'm like, I know that the way that I move was so different. I enjoyed being around men who understood that it's okay to be you. So for me, having this particular platform gives me the chance to do so many different things: raise awareness, keep people informed, use, bridge the gap. You know what I'm saying? Like you are. I'm not gonna say you're a much older guy than me, but you got me by about 15, 20 years.
No,
right?
No. How do you think I am, man?
You did say when I was younger. So if you say when you was younger, you could have been talking about last year, right?
How old do you think I am?
I think you about in your early 50s, maybe 51, 52.
I'll take it. 57. I'm proud of it. 57.
You 57?
I'll be 58.
All right, so you got me about 20. I'll be 35 on. I'll be 35 Thursday. I'll take Cash App too. You could, if you want to just give me a $10 gift, I'm cool. Cash App me. But so that means you got me about 23 years.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a young cat. I'm telling you, I'm 50. I'll be 58.
But check it though, right? So having a brother like you on the show, right? Having a brother like my brother Knowledgeborn, or Tanika V Love, or anyone else that's older than me in any way, shape, or form, it gives me the chance to bridge the gap, because it's a much needed conversation that we really generally don't have.
Yeah.
People my age don't really want to talk to the older people because they feel like if y'all knew everything, y'all wouldn't be where y'all at. Y'all wouldn't struggle, so to speak, and different things of that nature. So they don't want to listen. You feel me?
Yeah. No.
And here's where I come in at, and I'm able to just be like, well, there is that, this is like flip the coin. It's two sides to it, right? Y'all got the experience that y'all can make us aware of, so we won't have to go through it.
Yeah, and it's really it's a combination, and we sort of need each other, because one of the things that I always say, and I'm quite sure, a lot of young people never even thought about this. What I'm gonna say to you, I know a lot of young people don't even think about this, but in terms of the younger generation, you guys are the natives. And we are as the older generation, we're the immigrants. This is the first time in history, the first and probably the only time in history where the older generation are the immigrants. And you guys are the natives. Think about that.
No, listen, I don't disagree with you. I always say that there's more young people dying than older people. I say that often.
The whole key thing about being the elder is that you hold the information. You have all the information. That's the whole thing about being the elder. You have all the information, you have all the experiences, right? This is the first time in history where, as the elders, we have to go to our kids and to the younger generation and say, how do you do that? Because technology has changed the game. All the advertisement and everything is geared towards the younger generation. So the older generation, for the first time in history, are having to go to the younger generation to get information on how to live in the world today. How do I use a cell phone? How do I do this? How do I do that? Because everything is geared towards them. So, and that's a certain amount of power that the younger generation has, that I don't think they really truly understand, that with power comes responsibility. So there's a certain level of responsibility that they have not really understood that goes with that. So when they're dealing with the older generation, it has to be a form of compassion as well. It's like, okay, we have to educate each other, because this is the first time where it's really like we're both having to give each other in order to survive. Whereas before, it's always been, you go to the elders, have everything. Even in school, the teachers knew everything. Now the kids are like, what? No. Technology has changed the game. It's changed the relationships on how we interact between the two generations. So we have this gap, but people need to understand that we need to bridge that gap. And so I like what you're doing in terms of bridging that gap, because I think that's essential to us moving forward as a community and as a people.
Do you feel like, this is my question for you, so I hope you pondering on the question for me. Do you feel like we have, as a community, we have taken away that theory of it takes a village to raise a child, by feeling disrespected by everything?
It's just that we have to change our mindsets, because this is also in regards to this generation, the younger generation. This is the first time in history, right, where everything in regards to this generation is baked. Can you hear me, Staxx? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
This is the first time also.
Yeah, I can hear you.
this generation, right, the younger generation, everything is geared towards them, right? What is everything about? The iPhones, everything is I. So even like when you're dealing with things, you know, so everybody's constantly getting the concept of I. Gotta have my iPhone, my I this, my I that, my I this, you know, and even in terms of conversations, even with social media, what does everybody focus on? My brand. I can't do this because it's going to affect my brand. Everybody has a brand and everybody is focused on themselves. And then that focus collectively on the group per se, or the brand of all of us. So now everything is focused on my brand. I. So it's holding everything. And the reality is, if we're going to move forward collectively, we have to be on the same platform. We have to be speaking the same language, and we can't have that I, because, you know, and that's been the challenge, is that everything is about the individual. And that's part of the marketing. Everything is about the brand. The technology has made it, the technology has, as powerful as it is. And I would say that with all the technology that we have, we're probably more disconnected now than at any other point in time in our history. So when it came to the 60s, everyone knew what the goal was, right? We all knew, we all had a goal. We all said the agenda is we got to stop, you know, white only signs. We got to stop the legalized discrimination. Now, if you ask people today, with all the technology that we supposedly have, what's our goal? What's our plan as a people? We don't have one. We don't have one. Because everybody's doing their own thing. There was nothing where we're all coming behind and saying, this is the goal, and this is what we're going to do to push our communities and to push us forward. We're all going in different directions. What's the agenda? We don't have an agenda. A collective agenda.
Right. So your question?
If you had an opportunity to have dinner or discussion with anyone, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Who I would want to hold a conversation with any one of the Black Panthers.
Why?
Any one of the Black Panthers, for the simple fact that, for one, I'm different things that they illustrated out in LA. At that time, right? At that time, I feel like most people do things without having a certain level of a lot of people want to be involved with something, but they don't find the rules to the things that they want to be involved with, right? So what the Black Panthers did was so uniquely different because, like we start in this organization, everybody is going to do something different, but we all going to know the law, right? They was college students first, and like that concept is so unique to build unity, but for us all to bring something to the table that's different, but collectively be on one accord. So, like, you know, when you hear about Huey P. Newton, for example, Huey P. Newton was, hello? You can hear me?
I can hear you. Can
okay.
You hear me?
Huey P. Newton was one of those guys that that he was in charge of defense, right? And that's what most people know about him, but they didn't know that he was a law student.
Yeah.
So because he was a law student, right? Certain times where different things would take place at that time, the cops would run down on the black man in the middle of the street. Hey, where's your ID? And they showing their guns. The Black Panthers is running down on the police. Oh, is that a gun? Yeah. Second Amendment, right to bear arms. Yeah. Right? You learn to speak their language, and they're forced to just understand that you're not ignorant. You're not a nigger. You're not what they automatically assume that you are. So, you know, I would want to speak to any Black Panther for that reason. Of that time, no.
Did I freeze or did you freeze? Staxx, can you hear me? Staxx? Can you hear me?
You still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know. I don't know who froze, whether it was you or me.
Oh, okay. I mean,
I can see
where do you see outside of Real Dads Network, where do you see the youth going if we as a community don't get a hold of educating them?
Well, you know what? I really see them moving forward, to be honest with you. You know, and I was having a conversation. Can you? I don't know if you can. Did I freeze or did you freeze? Can you hear me? Oh, I really see them moving forward, and I feel like in terms of the future, I think it's good. They're going to get a lot more support and resources. So, and I was having a conversation with one of my, I guess with my nephew, my nephew was one of these. He's an old head as well, right? So the conversation that we were having is that you have a lot of people, especially a lot of these old heads, that were out there in the streets, you know. So a lot of them that were out in the streets, a lot of them are starting to come back, you know, where they've been incarcerated and they're coming back to the communities. But a lot of them are coming back with the mindset that I need to give back to the community. I need to tell these young people what they need to do and what they not need to do. So they're trying to support them. They're starting mentoring programs where they're going into schools. They're creating community programs, you know, where they're helping young people. So what we're starting to see is that we're starting to see a lot of those people that are coming back, like yourself, saying, I'm going to come back and I want to give back to the community and I want to uplift young people. So we're starting to see that throughout the city. So, and I think what's going to happen is that, and I think, and it's not just they're doing their own thing, they're doing it in conjunction with everyone else. So I think it's going to be a situation where things are going to turn around for us as a people. Because I think I see this happening throughout the country. And I think people are beginning to understand also that even with a lot of times, sometimes a lot of people were, you know, participating in selling drugs or doing crimes, whatever, because they didn't have any other opportunities. There was nothing else available. So a lot of the barriers and a lot of things have been systemic racism was set up where they didn't give us any opportunities. So a lot of people had nothing else to do but that. That was the only thing that was presented to them. And I don't know if you know of this law called the Commission. I don't know if you heard this thing called the Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys. Have you ever heard of this? The Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys? Staxx, can you hear me? Staxx, did I lose you? Staxx, can you hear me? I don't know if I lost you or not.
No, I'm here. I was waiting for your question.
Oh, I said, did you hear about this, the Social Status of Black Men and Boys law?
Huh?
Have you heard about this thing called the Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys?
Have I heard about? Say that one more time.
It's called the Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys. So what happened is that Frederica Wilson out of Florida in 2020, she had this bill.
No, I never heard of it.
She had this bill called the Social Status of Black Men and Boys. And this bill stated that historically, the federal government has created policies and programs that have discriminated against and have created barriers and obstacles that have prevented Black men and boys from succeeding. Dealing with the criminal justice system, the educational system, fatherhood, health. So this is what the bill stated, right? She sponsored the bill on the assembly side. Mark Rubio sponsored the bill on the Senate side. Trump signed the bill into law in 2020. So right now you have a law. It's called the Commission on the Social Status of Black Men and Boys. And this law is that what's stated based on the law that historically the federal government has created these obstacles and barriers that have prevented Black men and boys from succeeding. And they have this commission that is to look at all of these policies and procedures. And part of this commission's job is to make recommendations on how to change that. One of the ones that's on the commission is actually Reverend Al Sharpton as well. He's part of the commission. The commission just convened in November. So they're looking at in terms of historically what systemic racism has done to prevent Black men and boys from succeeding.
How many reverends you know without a church?
Boy, that's gonna be that's an open conversation. But you know, you don't have to have
Because you just said the Reverend Al Sharpton. You just said the
I
Reverend Al Sharpton. He just Al Sharpton. He's not no reverend. Who is he? Like,
yeah, listen, I'm not. I hear you, but I would say not just in regards to Al, but you know, you don't have to have a church to be a reverend, because even in terms of we're all in a lot of ways ministers and reverends, but we're servants. We're servants. So, and I'm not a religious person.
I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, and I'm not a religious person, so
I don't disagree with that. We talk about when we talk about calling, we talk about the will of God.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool for these guys to run around with Rev in front of their name. You know what I'm saying? Rev Jesse Jackson, Rev Al Sharpton, Bishop. You know what I'm saying? All of these different. And the reality is that when you take on such a high calling and responsibility, you people have to really be able to count on you, right?
Well, I agree. But I also say
and
we have to hold people accountable. So, just because someone has a title, and if someone's going to take on the title, and this is the thing that we tend not to do, is that we don't hold people accountable. So if you're saying you're going to be this, and I tell people, hold me accountable. If I'm saying that I'm going to do all this, hold me accountable. And that's what
I'm holding you accountable. I heard you say you was going to use that Cash App. I heard it. I'm holding you accountable. Thursday, I want to hit a ding.
But that's one of the things, also the things that we do as well, is that we have a thing called Real Dads Vote, which is that men have to vote. When it comes to Black men, a lot of times the whole thing is that, what, why should I vote? It's not going to change anything. Nothing is going to change. They're going to continue to do what they do. But the reality is everything that we do is revolved around policies. Who picks up your trash, what's happening in your community. Everything is revolving around policies. Everything you do in terms of America revolves around policies. So the question is, who is making those policies and who's influencing those policies?
The senators. Senate makes the laws.
The people make them. So you go to your senator and you say, listen, this is what we want in our communities. This is what we want. And this is what other people do. When we talk about that collective power, other people do that and they hold them accountable. They say, listen, you represent me. And this is what we want. And that's why as Black men, we talk a lot, right? But in terms of collectively saying, what's our agenda? What are some things that we want done in our communities, and holding these people accountable?
Do you think here's a question for you, because you haven't asked a question in a long time, but I got a good question for you. So do you think that one of the biggest problems within our community, urban communities, is that we don't show up to the board meetings where these mayors and different things of that nature, the people that actually have a certain obligation to us in the community, because we don't show up and speak our minds? Do you think that affects why we get treated and the rent get raised and all these different things?
Yeah, because it's like, you have to what is this?
Don't you hang out with one of the mayors or somebody that's running to be a mayor in the local?
He's not running. Eric Adams is the mayor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know what? Do you remember hearing this thing about the Tea Party?
Who?
The Tea Party.
Yeah.
You remember the Tea Party? No. You remember the whole?
Yeah.
Remember the whole thing about the Tea Party? All these white people that were protesting against Black people and all that stuff like that. These white Tea Party people. Remember that whole thing about the Tea Party? You notice you don't hear about the Tea Party anymore?
I mean, we let them win.
No, because they had a plan. They said what we're going to do is that we're going to we're going to get together collectively. We're going to win offices. We're going to win the mayor's position. We're going to win a governor. Then we're going to get assembly people. Then we're going to get senators. And then we're going to find someone that we want who's going to push our agenda, and we're going to get behind them. That was Trump. So even now to this day, you have over like 600 bills in the Senate, right? 600 bills out there to suppress voting rights. All right, in the 50 states, there are about 600 bills that are sitting out there to suppress voting rights because they said, listen, we have an agenda, and this is what we want to get accomplished. We want to stop Black people from voting. We want to create all these barriers and obstacles so this way they can't vote, because voting is the key to power. But in terms of the Black community, we don't see it that way. They see it that way, and then we get upset when they get into office and they start making policy changes. When they start saying things like, I'm going to put Trump. How many judges did Trump put in office?
I mean, so look, I will say this, right? The only presidents I vote for is the ones I put in my pocket.
But
and that's generally because I always say this, even though Jay-Z,
when it comes to yeah.
Even though Jay-Z, even though Jay-Z is a Black man with that's wealthier than I am, to them he's just does the nigga title change in their eyes? No, they just say he's a rich nigga, right? And I'm just a nigga to them, right? So I say that to say that money talks. So I vote for the presidents that I spend.
But I would say, you know what's more powerful than money, right?
Yeah, God.
In America.
Me.
In America.
Me.
No, in America.
Me.
In America. What's more powerful?
Me. I just told you, me.
Power.
Huh?
Power.
Power is more powerful than power?
Power is more powerful than money in America.
Oh, I mean,
because when you have the power,
because I exercise this.
Yeah, but when you have the power, you're able to make changes. You're able to make policy changes, like discriminatory practices. Even when we talk about segregation, when we talk about all this stuff in terms of incarceration. We talk about, all these things that are happening to us historically. That's because they've had a certain level of power and they've created certain policies, that they've put in place where it benefited them and it affected us.
Now here's what you're saying. It has the underlying belly of what you're saying is that their true power comes because they are more unified than we are. Their unity makes them powerful.
That's what the Black Panthers are all about.
We have yet to show any kind of unity for whatever reason, right? Because we illustrate more hate than love anyway, right? When even you think about when Obama became the president, nobody cared about what he had to say. They voted for him just because he was a Black man, right? They didn't do the history or get behind. Let's dig into what's going on with this guy, right? So now, like what Trump, for example, right? The one thing I respected about Trump was that he was a businessman, not a politician, right? The stimulus check thing that he did was even if we end up owing, right? It was geared towards helping us go into ownership, right? So for me, right, I'm like, Trump wasn't that bad, right? Now Trump is out of office. They trying to force us to get vaccinated. Trump was running around with no mask on and all these different things, and they were saying that he had the COVID for 2 days, a 2-day COVID. We get the COVID, we gotta be separated for 2 weeks. This guy, 2 days. Or I don't want you on TV for 2 days. That's some power.
And you know, when you talk about, listen, I got a seminar. I'm supposed to be on another call at 6:30. So
now you go. We about to end the show in like 3 minutes.
The thing is, when I said about power and money, Black Panthers, did they have a lot of money?
They had a lot of unity.
Did they have a lot of money?
They didn't need a lot of money.
What did they have? They had a lot of power.
This
power.
Strength. Listen, our strength is in unity.
Yeah, and they had a lot of power and influence. That's why
our power is in unity.
Power is influence. And the Black Panthers.
Think about Black Wall Street, right?
Yeah.
You remember Black Wall Street, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Our power was in unity.
Yes.
We was unified.
Because when we're unified,
right?
we're
they had to take that away because by burning down Black Wall Street, they took away the power.
They took away our influence.
So
yeah, I agree. And that's why I say
so now
it's in that the power.
Our power comes in unity.
Yeah, I agree. Because when you have the unity, you can influence. You can influence policies. You can influence what's happening in your community because now you have that power.
Think about
only to power.
After I say this, I want you to just promote every way, shape, or form that people can get in contact with you and be a part of the mission with Real Dads Network. But I'm pretty sure that you saw the Malcolm X movie, right?
Yeah.
And when Malcolm X stood up and pointed his finger, and everybody else stood up, and they started the march, the captain of the lieutenant on the police squad said, "That's too much power for one nigga to have."
He didn't say money. He didn't say money. He didn't say presidents, right? He didn't say money.
Listen. Since I'm glad that you keep mentioning money, man. My cash app is open, man. I'm telling you, man. Like I don't care. But just tell people how they can get in contact with you, how they can be a part of helping out in your movement with Real Dads Network and different things of that nature. They
can just go to our Instagram at Real Dads Network. Also our website, realdadsnetwork.org. They can also call us 212-875-7725.
All right. You want to shout out anybody?
Yeah, first, just want to thank you, man. I really appreciate you just inviting me here. And I just really appreciate what you're doing. And I just need you to know that anything that we can do to support the work that you're doing, you got our support.
I appreciate that. Nobody else? There's nobody on Real Dads Network that you want to shout out? Like you don't want to shout the team out or none of that?
Well, in terms of Real Dads Network, I just really appreciate everyone in regards to what they're doing in terms of the whole Real Dads team. Because in regards to what we do, the Real Dads Club, Uncle Mike. So when you come to the club, I don't head the club. The club is headed by Uncle Mike. Uncle Mike leads the club, and also my man Ish. Ish does all of the social media. So I just really appreciate all those guys, and even the guys that are there, man. We've been meeting for almost 2 years. These men have been coming for almost 2 years every Thursday to be a part of these clubs. So it's really a support group that we have. It's just people just encouraging each other. So I just appreciate all of them and love those guys, what they bring to each other and what we do for each other. So big shout out to the Real Dads Club, and also to my wife and my 2 daughters as well. Love those guys. The reason why I do
well, I want to shout you out for making time to come on, do the Knowledge Radio, have a boss talk, boss to boss, king to king, right? You might be, I don't know, you might be a regular human, but I'm a god, so I don't know. You feel me? Like I'm like this is kind of different here.
Yo,
but
Stack, I gotta get you on the basketball court too. I still got skills, yo. I'm telling you. I know. I heard your ball. I heard you talking about how much you got game like that. That's why I say I gotta get you on the court too.
Listen, I'm good, man. I make young boys have heart attacks. I don't want to, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't want to do that to you, man.
So do I.
Like, but so if you in 2 weeks, the gym that I play basketball in every Wednesday, 35 and older, on 163rd and Tenton Avenue.
All right.
From 6 to 8 o'clock.
Hit me up. I'll definitely come out.
All right, cool. Listen, I just want to shout out. I want to shout out a few artists that I'm working with right now. Starquasia, T Sexy, Tanifia, all female artists. They super dope. 2 rappers, 1 female artist. Tanifia, y'all heard her sing Can We Talk on my 2-year anniversary. My Grilla team, T Gutter, AP, Audi, my man Pierre McFlair, that's the best rapper on the planet. My other, even though my favorite rapper is somebody else, Pierre McFlair is the best rapper on the planet. That's just how I speak. But my favorite rapper is Bugatti Biggs. That's my big bro. That's the guy that named me. One day, hopefully, he get a EP going, and I'll have him on the show. We might come up with a song for Real Dads Network. I gotta, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to put this too much feng shui. You know what I'm saying? Too much feng shui on the Real Dads Network. And you know, but we working on some things, man, 2022. And yo, Knowledge, I appreciate you. Shout out Knowledge. If y'all haven't done it yet, Elianza's Collections, ladies, man, she got them eyelashes, full mink lashes. She got they all-purpose lashes too. You can wear them to the club or to church. You can wear them for a business meeting or to fight. They peel off. You can put them back on. You got Tanika B Love. She got a book out called Cooking with Love. Y'all hit that, man. Go check out the book. I haven't checked it out yet, but I'm gonna get mine. I don't want her to cut me, like, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna get mine. And y'all stay tuned. Next Tuesday, we will be doing the show about relationships, and Tanika B Love will be on the show. We're gonna be talking about relationships, marriages, and different things of that nature. I just want to do that every week, every month. I want to just have an episode about relationships. And people people are misinformed about the fact that just because you're not dating them, don't put you in a relationship. If we friends, be in a relationship. If you my brother or sister, we in a relationship. If you my mother, we in a relationship. If I got a relationship with God, I'm a God that has a relationship with the God Almighty. So everything is about relationship, and people miss that a lot. And don't forget that we are a chain of people. This is a community thing. We are culturally connected in one way, shape, or form. So, you know, it's Black History. It's Black History Month, but don't forget that you Black every day that you wake up. Even white people want to be Black until something Black happens. But that's our time, man. Y'all have a good night, man. God bless y'all, man. It was fun having you, Brother Derek.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
If you hit the X at the bottom of your screen, it'll let you leave.
Okay. All right, my brother. Peace.
All right.
Rapping to music's highest levels as they join us to do the latest single, an absolute smash entitled The Magical
Sit down, let me hit you with this good soul sermon. Seems so urgent, the way my flow emerging. Niggas like to talk quick, but they slow learning. You forgot me like a pot on the stove burning. Dropping gems that can heal you, just like elixir. Freemasons can't erase Phoenix from the picture. Dope oratory, spit it by the gallon. Colors in my aura like Aurora Borealis. You gotta learn astrology, you can't ignore the will. Divine protection, all up in my force field. Spiritual war is real, they want a Jordan still. I'm getting paper the same color as chlorophyll. I am them the new decision like a court appeal. It's all the same, meaning God's plan or Lord's will. Plant more seeds than in vitro. Frequency turned my atoms on fleek mode. Thank you for coming out this evening. Nobody dropped jewels like we bring. Ever since the shorty wop, I could see things. Astrology to Kabbalah to the I Ching. Deep alchemy quotes to hit your heart zone. I write galaxy notes, no smartphone. And if I'm doing alchemy, then why challenge me? Trollers, they watching like Malcolm on the balcony. But I'm winning, vindicated by the victory. Popping off like Peter with this rap ministry. Tell me your birthday, I gotta check the synastry. I gotta see how we can calibrate this energy. Chilling in my tie zone, no anarchy. Real soul, sly stone, where the family? Fourth house, Cancer moon, let it bless me. Feminine race, she Oshun sexy, 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 sexy.
Yo, Ty, yo, this groove right here make me feel like I'm dancing in the stars. This that mystical magic, they be wishing they had it. This is a dose of uncut for the living fanatics. From the pineal gland crystal that sits in my attic. That God deity, DMT, DVD, holographic Blu-ray, sacred flower bouquet. Some say the clouds were too gray. My thoughts are pixie dust like baby powder on a new day. Sprinkled by the hidden hand, floating in the ethers into spirits in your liquor stand. For the believers who don't go through the procedures, who can know without seeing when your omen is the gift of man. My skin was sewn from the hopes of all the dreamers. Out for the theta, dealt to the beta, serenade your brainwaves, be living in fantasia. I'm not a shock when we giving the fans stages. Surfing Mount Pyramid, sitting on Grand Masons. They can't ignore it, the vision's too damn major. It's mathematically visible, playing data like phones with no contract. We broke from the trap, the metaphysic God rap. Ain't no holding it back. These zombies under deep spells, wouldn't know if it's back. Spirals in the seashells, mark the road to get back. And this ain't the full meal, lit is only a snack. We gon' see the fakes hated when we in the same spaceship T'Challa had. With my pulse low, we can catch these felines. Feel my lines when I'm flowing like that. It's the law of attraction. See the flaws, got me laughing. You a magnet that repels. You don't only attract. See the magic in our spells. Now I'm fashion, you can yell. God, take their mind higher like I'm passing them to hell. Vesica Pisces like we wrapped it in Chanel. Mother Nature is the holy zodiac that keeps our DNA braided so our soul is intact. Amethyst, tanzanite, purple stones in my lap. Full moon, white and jewelry, be glowing like that. I broke the ice that had the avatar in it. I've never cast a spell that had no average bars in it. Jupiter conjunct, got no average Mars, get it? Turn into the Hulk, leave a savage's card dented with a pinky touch on a matchbox with $1. Now I'm the gear straw man, paper dollars. How they control man, invisible strings. I ride from the sun with invincible wings. From a Conda, my every mantra's a heavenly opera. Peace to the new gods, the beast, clear truth gods. Smoke with the Rasta sip, brew with the Brujas. Zodiac shaman, holy mat washing. Forth through Saturn's rings like an astronaut boxing. Don't be fools, go to school, don't be hard heads. Come to me, call up Ty, get your chart read. Ace of spades, they amazed how the cards spread. Redesign, teach the blind what the stars said. The zodiac redesigned is the dark web. Got us living cage free like the farm eggs. Reattach the Godhead, knowledge the lead. You should pay to go to cosmic physics college instead. It's Kai Zodiac and titanium. Perform live on the stage in your mind stadium. Get your mind right, raise your vibranium. It's Chaldean design, sometimes Sabian. Listen, it's not a temporary trend. These are ancient secrets here, y'all gon' wake up in the end. To every rhyme that you wrote, you can go delete it. 2 serpents, 1 mic like a double helix. Think it's the US, then poof, you in ancient Egypt. Poof, you in ancient Egypt. You in ancient Egypt.
I'd like to say it's open and to have you with us. We'd like to come back real soon and do some more things.